Sigma making the work. Squatic finally making some inroads here on behalf of...
Absolutely gets in the back. Shadows.
Oh my god. Hello?
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 Uh-oh.
Hello?
Blur? Hello?
I don't think there's time. They're not gonna get back in touch. Nobody's noticed. No.
33% to a bomb, but ThePeachZA with 4 ultimates of their own. This next fight.
They can follow up a little bit of aggression. This perspective could be used. I think this is everybody. He does!
The anti-nade came through, and as much as we saw, this is dirty. Oh
The
no.
ulti and popping it on everyone. The long spawns in Overwatch.
Wow.
Actually. It looks like Loki can kill him. Talks. Oh my god! With the triple. Could that be the difference? He's coming out. Terrible. Try and take up the difference. Let's get it. Oh, heaven. All right. Welcome everybody to some more ZA Overwatch action. My name is SunPheonyx, joined by a wild Miiiish, a name not seen for thousands of years. Ben.
How's it, guys?
Today we'll bring you the Raving Mad Gamer Summer League, as we have been since the beginning of Feb. Quite an interesting matchup today. Quite one-sided on paper, but should be a lot of fun. ATK versus Ladon Overwatch. Obviously, ATK top of the log right now. Ladon kind of, having some inconsistent performances in the middle of the game. But obviously, we're joined by an ATK expert today. One of the few people who knows that team and all its history in and out. So why don't you tell us a little bit, Miiiish, about this new ATK squad?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that ATK have gone and basically tried to put together the most consistent best players in our community and in our scene, and I think they've done a really good job of doing that. Probably a couple different things by putting like Lazarus on a support role, grabbing fresh talent like Bandit, who is quite young, but he's made a name for himself already, and people who already know people like 20, everyone knows that name, Sponge. Those guys click heads on the daily, and
Yeah.
I think they've given them the right amount of time and doing exactly what they are right now. I think they're going to do a really, really, really good job of showing exactly what South Africa as a country has to offer, hopefully on an international scene. But I think they're doing exactly what they can, or what they're supposed to be doing right now, and that's trying to just wipe the rest of the teams as quickly as they can.
Yeah,
I'm confident in especially with ATK backing them and everything like that. They've got the right support systems and the people behind them to go really far. So, not much more to say than that. But yeah, I'm keen to see, besides the local scene, how far they'll go.
Yeah, 100%. At the moment, they're sitting top of the log, untouched completely, haven't lost a single map just yet. Of course, as I mentioned, every time we watch this team play, we are their real test. In fact, maybe their only real test in South African Overwatch will be when they face 2CP up in week 11. We are in week 6 at the moment, so still a decent chunk of time before we get to that match, but that's going to be a banger in the near future. Looking at the other team on the other side, though, a team I'm very familiar with and all its history. We're actually both experts on each team here. Ladon Esports, a team, like you said, that's been performing quite inconsistently in Raving Mad Games. We saw them against IVG Calypso a few weeks ago, with almost got reverse sweep by IVG, but thankfully just managed to hold on there for a 3-2 victory. And then we saw them against Ironic Overdogs last week, where we saw a really fascinating main tank matchup between Blur and Z-Lord, and on that occasion, Z-Lord getting the best quite handily of Blur from Ladon Esports. So a team that struggled a little bit recently, it has to be said, and I don't think that's going to end as we come into this match. Of course, you've talked up ATK quite significantly here, and it's all completely justified. This team is looking completely unstoppable, like we've mentioned. So, gonna struggle, I think, are Ladon Overwatch here. And if we look at the squad they're bringing to bear here, as I click through my things, because I'm very unprepared and bad at my job, tanks will be... Oh god, sorry. So this week's tank, we're seeing Seraphim / Supernova. I believe it'll be Seraphim this week in on the main tank. So third new main tank. I always get very concerned when I see many different role switches and player switches. But Ladon have a plan here with what they want to do. They want to try and give as many people opportunities and figure out the best team they can before heading into the ATK tournament, which starts in 2 weeks-ish time. Darkstar has been a standout performer on that Diva. Rexu, a pretty consistent hit scan player for Ladon Esports. Babs, an unusual player here, formerly a part of, I believe it was Rage Quit Odyssey, actually. Never saw any playtime with him, but getting his spot here on Ladon Esports. I had no idea they picked him up until I read this right now. So those will be their 2 DPS. Supports will be Doname and Smiley. Smiley we saw 2 weeks ago in their match against Calypso. We'll be playing the main healer, Doname, on that fixed support role. So pretty different looking lineup here, but I think Ladon are starting to get a sense of how they want to play things here. Looks like our first map will be Lijiang Tower here. Do you have any sense of how ATK is going to want to play this one, Miiiiish?
I think most teams currently are now like hitting that brawl meta quite hard. And I think ATK, they have that sort of big explosive fight mentality or ability, especially with their tanks, and their support's doing a super job of making sure their tanks have that space to do whatever they need to do. So honestly, I think they'd probably do like definitely have a Ryan. Probably they'll have 20 on Kree or maybe May, which most teams don't like to see, but maybe. Lucio's out for this week, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So they'll probably do an Honor Baptiste, maybe. I guess maybe Mora in there, but I think basically ATK will just want to kind of establish the dominance early. They'll kind of want to take the point and kind of just play it from there, which I think they'll do a good job of doing. And I think as long as they don't make any mistakes that Ladon can take advantage of, I think they'll do a decent job of just establishing themselves early on in the game.
So just to remind you guys, hero pools this week are the same as last week because we go with what Owl does, and Owl hasn't changed the hero pools because they didn't have any matches because the world's on fire. So just a reminder, Winston out this week, Soldier and Sombra as well for the DPS, and then like you mentioned before, Lucio for the main support. So we've seen, when I was casting Open Division last week, we saw a lot of teams shying away from the Reinhardt, running their Rissa instead. Do you think we'll see that here again because of having no Lucio, or do you think these teams are going to lean on the shield tank? On the Reinhardt, sorry.
I think probably leaning on the Reinhardts, especially if their tanks are feeling confident. If they feel like they can take the space, if they can, sort of give the protection they need to their team to do their jobs. I think Reinhardt especially would have an exceptional use, just because he is basically walking cover. As long as they don't get too overconfident and go for not so smart plays, I think that I think teams will definitely lean rather on the tanks. And I think both teams have a decent tank lineup, so I think if they can enable their tanks to do their jobs, I think they would be stupid to do anything else.
I agree. One thing we have seen here in games, the teams running that Reinhardt here, everybody's comfortable playing with and against, but we have seen the plays be a little bit less explosive as a result. It's a little bit more difficult to take advantage of any kills you get in the poke phase because you don't have that Lucio to move you in on top of the enemy hero. So I think I agree with you though. Seeing what the teams have been doing, we'll probably see a lot of Reinhardt, but we do have Bandit now. Bandit is the most prolific ball player in the country. So do you think we see any of his famous ball coming up?
I mean, there's a possibility. I think if, especially I think because ATK don't necessarily play comps to specific meta confines. They don't, they don't play spam, they don't play dive, they don't play ball. Specifically, they'll kind of branch out a little bit. I think there's a possibility they'll definitely see Bandit on ball, and I'd be very interested in seeing that myself. But I think that that goes to both teams. I think it doesn't necessarily speak to that. You have to stick to the meta rather than kind of make what works for your team work for your team. And I think they can probably make that. Both teams could make it work for themselves.
Yeah, interested to see that then. Just a reminder, guys, ATK on top of the log right now. 12 maps for, 0 maps against. So they're still looking to lose their first map here. And I'll be honest, I don't think Ladon's the team to take it away, but maybe we're not giving him enough of a chance here, especially with some new blood in the lineup. Ladon at the moment sitting in 6th position, played 4, won 2, lost 2, and yet to play the 2 top teams. So having a bit of a difficult opening here. But like I said, using this one to test out a bunch of new players and get their roster fully sorted out. This roster has about 800 billion people on it, so they've got a lot of room to work around on a Ladon squad as we head into Lijiang Tower.
Initiating match.
So we wait for the squads to unlock here. So remind us again what you thought we'd see out of... And we're on Gardens here, so what do you think we're going to see on Gardens?
I honestly think probably... I wouldn't be surprised if Bandit goes Ball now, but I still think that they'll probably put maybe a Pharaoh Mercy in, maybe Ball, depending on how they probably want to get the play going first. They'll see how it goes. So yeah, Pharaoh Mercy coming in, yeah, Squishy playing Ana, which is always solid healing. 20 going hit scans, and yeah, there you go, Bandits on Ball, and I guess they're just going to play a sort of get in, get out kind of fast play with their tanks, and I think I would probably see 20 playing a bit further back, kind of being a bit more pokey.
Yeah.
But it seems like, it seems like that's what they're sticking to right now.
Yeah, they're relying here on the tanks to make a lot of space for the damage to come in. On the Ladon side, though, we've got quite a similar tank lineup, but running the Doomfist Genji instead. Rather unusual response here from the Ladon squad. Let's see how things go here. Looking through the eyes of the newest addition to the Ladon squad, Babs on that Genji. I hear a ball in the backline here. Nobody going down just yet. Coming through, not finding anything either. Getting damage down here. Doesn't look like it. The Pharaoh finding a decent angle. Anti-Nate goes in here. Does hit a couple of damage at Dizzy. They're unable to find the kill onto the Ana. Kept alive there by the ball. Coming in with a pile driver. Seraphim doing a good job there to keep Ana safe. Like getting aggressive. Good Bandit here. Putting the damage in. Either team dropping it. As I say though, Dizzy finally falls a kill on one of the supports there. The Mercy of Smiley going down. The Sponge finds Doname. And now it's just ATK cleaning up here. Darkstar does get the DMAC from Dizzy. That's actually quite a nice pick. I'm sure we'll see Dizzy suicide himself here to get his make back. But after a little bit of a brawl stage in the middle, ATK come out fighting here.
Yeah, they seem to. I think Ladon just kind of fell apart a little bit there. I think if they stick with each other, call their focuses and go with it together and just make clear comms, they should do a little bit better. But I still think minimizing your mistakes against a team like ATK isn't necessarily enough. But I'm sure they'll try their best.
Now I don't know. I'm no expert, kind of, but playing hit scan into 20 is always a tough ask, and with the support of ATK behind him, he's really struggling, Rexu here, to get the damage into his opposite number here, and then this is ATK fully in control here as 20 finds another headshot onto Donime, makes it look super easy. Does he find anything else? No, quite able to, but yeah, ATK fully in control at the moment.
Yeah, they seem to be just waiting for just an easy pick off from Ladon, and then once they have that, they kind of just push on to where they've where they can get the most value out of where someone's out of position or anything like that. So hopefully Ladon can play a bit more collectively together. I might take a map or two, or a round or two, but I think they'll definitely get there.
Let's see if that is the case as they come around this time on the right side. Sponge is sitting on his ulti here. The Rocket Barrage could be pretty difficult to play into. A Squishy, he's the one putting in the damage now. He finds a kill on Rexu as the Pharmacy drops low on the side of Ladon, and Sponge cleaning up here. He finds Donime and ATK completely uncontested on the point here as they build their way up to 70%. Are they going to stagger? No, they can't. This Darkstar does a smart thing there and remix the good old-fashioned way.
Yeah. Well, no, I think that, playing against a team like ATK can sometimes be a bit daunting, but I think sometimes it takes a map, they'll get there, but I think they just need to they kind of need to stop playing a bit sloppy. Things like that shouldn't be happening.
I think sloppy is a very good way to put it here. Discipline, a little bit lacking here, but ATK can make any team so disciplined, so undisciplined rather. Bandit, he did drop his ulti there, the Mind's finding 2, as Ladon scrambled their way in there to try and get the touch for overtime, but it's not going to matter. It's ATK looking firmly in control here on Lijiang Tower so far.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. They seem to be very confident in how they want to play and where they want to go in their direction of their team play. I think Ladon have that ability, but they just seem to be sort of scattered at the moment, I think is the right word. I think that just comes down to just, getting into the game, just feeling, just being in the moment of rather don't figure out what's going to happen on later. Just focus on what you're doing now, get it together, and then as a team collectively decide what you're going to do next. And I think that's something they can easily do if they just, just put a bit more sort of focus on it.
So like you mentioned before, both teams running the Reinhardt here, but do you see the Brigitte coming out from both teams as well? So this is the meta composition, so to speak. The last time we watched the Owl about 100,000 years ago was the last Owl match. So this is the comp they were leaning on during that phase. So just to see how they use it here. South African Overwatch. Seraphim dropping low here, half HP, needs to be careful. Smiley, aggressive on the Brig, he gets anti-naded though and taken down. 20, finding the kill there on the opposite Brigitte. Do they look for anything else here on the side of Ladon Esports? They're a man down, it has to be said, and it's looking pretty tough. Rexy on the street, we're going to try and make the difference. With Lazarus getting that kill onto Seraphim, it opens the floodgates here. It's ATK to do pretty easy first cap here on Control Center.
Yeah, I think the Reinhardt got a bit sort of separated there, and I think he was a bit, not necessarily too deep, but tanks got a bit separated, and ATK definitely took advantage of that lack of, or out of positioning on their tanks for sure.
Good wall there, it has to be said as well, by Sponge making that work. And speaking of Sponge, he's 92% up to that burst. He put in a ton of AoE damage with that cleaving cryogenic blaster, I don't know what it's called, lore shit. Speaking of, no, that's not a segue. Well, speaking of segues, Blizzard comes in here. So many, what a beautiful from Sponge there. He's gonna clean up the whole of Ladon here, and that is efficiency. One ultimate there, taking out the whole of Ladon.
Shame, I don't think there's much Ladon could have done about that. That's a Mei ultimate for you. I think that's why everyone rejoiced when she's been banned. And
yeah, well, she hasn't been banned. That's the thing.
When she will be, I think people will rejoice, especially the support players. I think they will definitely rejoice because that is always rough to play against.
Yeah, at that point it's on Darkstar though and the Diva, but I think he might have gotten demake there. Yeah. For do the business. Sponge knows how to not get that eaten. As Ladon come in here at 20 on the flank here, he does have the Deadeye. He chooses to use it. He's in the greatest position. I mean, so many ultimates here. Every hero has them, basically, except for that Blizzard. It's just charging up pretty quick. The Nano Boost goes into Bandit to keep him healthy. Sorry, that's not the Seraphim. The Shadow comes out finally. Some bite from Ladon here. They get the kill onto Lazarus. But Dizzy firing back immediately with a kill off the Seraphim, and still, even after such a good ult combo from the Ladon Esports squad, it's still not nearly enough to even touch the ATK squad as they tick up to 90%. I don't think Ladon's going to get in touch here, and ATK going to take this first map 2-0 and set a dominating precedent here for this matchup tonight.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said they would try to do. Assert their dominance at the beginning, kind of get into the enemy's heads, and kind of just get them to play how they want them to play. I think in that last fight there, I think once again a red wall coming in from Sponge, but just a lack of a follow-up from Ladon, I think. But partially because of the wall.
Yeah, very nice play there from the ATK squad. If you're looking at Ladon here, you've mentioned, of course, the discipline. Anything else you think they need to clean up here?
I think just maybe their sort of target focus, especially if they get a Nano Ryan in, and the Ryan has the he got a decent shatter there. I think there needs to be a lot more sort of awareness on when the follow-up needs to happen or how quickly it needs to happen. But obviously, playing against something, trying to balance that with a Mei is very difficult because she can just cut off your rotations completely. And I think that's exactly what happened. I think maybe they're just struggling to find their feet right now, but I still think, like you see, they can get a shatter off like that against, ATK. That's something they should be able to punish quite quickly. And if they can carry on doing that and actually capitalizing on it eventually, I think they will give ATK a decent run for their money.
We'll have to wait and see. We will be heading into King's Row next year. Now, Mish, let me give you a stat. Right. We've watched about 9 matches of Overwatch in South Africa, and we've seen a map that isn't King's Row exactly once. So that should tell you how South African teams feel about King's Row. They love this map.
I mean, I love this map.
I mean, everybody loves this map. It's the best map in the damn game. If they could make every map pull King's Row 9 times, I might play Overwatch.
I'm okay with it. Yeah, I'm good with that.
So this is a map that every team is familiar with. In the last matchup, we saw ATK take this map because obviously they haven't dropped a single map. Ladon have had a mixed sort of bag on this map, to be honest. Struggling against a few teams, as I say that. So yeah, 1-1 on this map in their previous matchups. So looking ATK favored, yeah, I'd have to say.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think, King's Row is a very sort of, what is the word now? Snowball map. If you get the momentum quickly or early,
Yes.
you can definitely keep that going, especially through the streets phase. While the first part is sometimes a bit difficult to take, if you get it through that and you can keep your momentum through the streets phase, I think it is very hard to stop a team's momentum, especially a team like ATK. But I mean, that goes for any team. If you can keep your momentum, you can keep your your flow of your game going, especially like through that streets phase, you will get a lot of time. You might not necessarily push it to the end because that last phase is quite difficult to push, but you can still give yourself a lot of time to like sort out those mistakes you're making just by keeping your momentum. And I think that's exactly what Ladon should be taking advantage of, is trying to just push push ATK back as far as they possibly can, while not sort of giving them space to do what works for them, like getting banded on the front line, punishing whatever they can. But yeah, momentum on this map is something that I think a lot of teams utilize, and if done well, it works brilliantly.
Yeah, so something to remember as well is that they have changed the way time bank works for assault, payload, and hybrid. So how it works now is it's the most needlessly complicated stuff I've ever seen. But how it works now is if a team has over 2 minutes, if both teams have over 2 minutes remaining in the time bank, they're brought down so that the team with the lowest amount of time has 2 minutes in the clock, and they're both brought down the same amount. So basically, it's so that there's not a huge, you don't get these massive time banks. It doesn't change the discrepancy, it just changes the total amount of time left in the game. So you don't get these long, drawn-out 2CP maps that last 20 years that go 7, 8, because now it's much harder to build like a 5-minute time bank,
Yeah.
So an unusual change. I don't know that anyone was complaining about long assault maps. Maybe I'm just out of touch. But something to be aware of is that even if ATK get 100 years on the clock, if both teams get 100 years on the clock, it comes down to 2 minutes. So we won't be seeing too long of a matchup here. A bit of a cap on that. Other thing to mention as well is that we did watch ATK play this map against Odyssey, and Odyssey actually looked pretty decent on this map. They held them at third point, almost pushed all the way through on their own push, and ATK struggled a little bit, and Squishy mentioned that corner on third point is a bit of a point of difficulty for them. So mentioning it can be quite tough to stop the push, but if you stop the push, the other side of that coin is it's quite difficult to get going again. And like you say, very momentum based on King's Row.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'd be very surprised. I think the way Squishy and 20 play, I think especially which works on this map, is you can play the off angles. There are a couple of high grounds, a couple of places where you can kind of just play slightly different or back or poke from the sides or whatever they can do that works for them. And I would be very surprised if I didn't see that happening. I think especially when it comes to fighting on point, Squishy will probably be a bit further back. 20 might be just playing an off position just to get that sort of poke in. Maybe someone's be playing a bit of out of position. That's an easy pick for them. But that works in both ways. Ladon could definitely do the same thing. And that's, you see, I think Squishy's going to definitely be playing back on Ana. Donnie will probably be doing the same on her side. And I think that sort of brawl that Ladon are now running with, Smiley, Seraphim, and Darkstar playing that brawly characters, that could work quite well as long as they focus on the characters they need to focus on, and they get it done efficiently. If you mess around or if you kind of miss one or two things, you can be caught off guard quite quickly, even if you have the advantage.
On the other side here for ATK, quite a different squad from what we see Ladon running. Running the Ash Doomfist here, quite an unusual composition. Dizzy on that Zarya, this is the one map we see Zarya played quite a lot, so not that surprising to see the Russian weightlifter come out here on King's Row. Lazarus will be sitting on that Mercy though, so any kills that Ladon do get might not be permanent if they can't capitalize on the resurrection. Dynamite going in here as Rexu looks damaging on McCree, or big anti-Seraphim moving away from his team here, and they're completely exposed, taken down by the 2 DPS of ATK. They're gonna have to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, so that anti kind of pretty much like, you know, pushed the run up, pushed their team, the tanks back on Ladon's side, and I think, you know, just getting those sort of limiting abilities down on another team is extremely useful, especially in the way Squishy's playing it right now.
Composition-wise, we do see both DPS switching up here. Rexu off the Macrina onto the Widow, and Babs on the Hanzo. So try and make something happen here. Square Sponge in the backline, doing so much damage, but they do find the kill on Bandit. They're gonna have to stop the rest from coming through from Lazarus, but it's not in a good position to do that. As Seraphim on the front line here, shield dropping low, he pops a Widow shot for good measure, and now he charges through, but it's Rexu putting in the damage, but they've lost so many heroes, so he's trying to get the supports, but he can't find the hits he needs to, and Ladon have lost so many in the meanwhile. ATK gonna hold firm here on first point King's Row.
I think that played well into ATK's hands. They were playing quite back, quite reserved, a little bit split, almost to the advantage, especially with Sponge on Doomfist. He can get in and get out, cause a bit of chaos, and then start the team fight over.
100%. No compositional changes here. All the Darkseid has moved onto that Zarya, as we saw in the previous fight. Speaking of things happening, Sponge in the backline here, dropping solo. He gets the kill on Smiley. Squishy follows up onto Babs, and ATK again, completely uncontested on first point here. Well, as I say that, taking down Lazarus. So with the respawns, maybe there's an opportunity for Ladon to get something done here.
That Doomfist from Sponge is exactly what they need. I think they get in, they cause a bit of commotion, people switch around, and then the rest of the front line or back line can actually just get picks off on the team when they're not concentrating.
100%. The move in here again, Ladon running out of time, 150 left on the clock. Dynamite making Seraphim's life a living hell. 20 does have Bob up here if he wants to use it. They commit the grab here, Dizzy. Do they have the follow-up? Of course they do. They commit the shadow as well after losing so many heroes, and they find nothing with it. That's the discipline we were talking about there, Miiiish. Ladon, able to find anything with the else.
Yeah, no, I agree on that discipline side. I think maybe holding that, just holding your tongue while you have that sort of that's a game-changing ult that can swing a whole round for you. And that's unfortunate. It's not much you can do about that besides just be a bit more disciplined.
100%. Ults-wise, neither team sitting with a ton in the bank here, but Bandit has a shadow, but 20 with the assistance from Sponge there gets the pick onto Babs, and it's just all falls apart after that. There's really not much you can do. We're seeing this Dynamite combo with the Mercy damage boost is actually doing so much flipping work in the backline.
Yeah, that is like the explosive, excuse the pun. Once again, I think Sponge is just repeating, he's just, rinse and repeating, he's doing the same thing. Getting in, 20's doing some damage, so is he getting out, and then the fight just falls their way.
100%. Can they find anything? Bandit did cop a shot there from Rexu's Widowmaker, but he looks like he's going to brought up to fighting shape in no time at all, courtesy of his Anna Lazarus. Oh, never mind, 20 on the flank there, just keep that in the back of your mind. Here's Bandit charging up his ulti. Sorry, he's had his ulti for quite a while. His shield goes down, he commits the ulti, but no. Seraphim gets the block in there. Sponge, meanwhile, in the back line. ATK, the 2 DPS putting in so much work. As 20 finds, oh my god, and then suddenly everybody's dead. ATK in complete control. Your Squishy picks up the double kill with the anti-nade there. He's gonna try and stop. Oh my god, is he just gonna kill him? He basically almost just killed him on the way. This is bullying, cyberbullying. It's not even fair, dude. ATK, full hold Ladon here on first point King's Row.
They were doing it quite comfortably as well. I don't think, they were once that I think they didn't seem quite, threatened by sort of Ladon's plays. But I think it's hard to make a play against ATK when you get Sponge and 20 who are putting so much pressure as their DPS.
Yeah.
Especially Sponge getting in and out, like he did it repeated again and again. He would go for their supports, their Brig or their Honor. Get in, get a pick, get out. They don't need anything more than that. And once that happens, the team fight starts to really go in their favor. 20 will clean up whatever he sees necessary. Squishy clearly with his nades will do the exact same thing, and Ban is just there to hold mouse 1. So I think maybe just as Ladon, I think they just need to just forget about what's been happening. Like just play it as a new game. just put everything on the line. I mean, go big or go home, and just like hold on to that discipline like they unfortunately lacked in the first round. I just think they need to try and play collectively, where they still seemed a bit scattered from the last round. But yeah, I still have faith. You know, they have good players. Good communication will always, you know, always help teams, and I have faith that they'll definitely bring it back.
Well, that makes one of us, I'll be honest, but I'm excited to see.
I have to play both sides. I'm an ATK man, but I have to play both sides.
I'm a Ladon man, and I have. So we're looking at the compositions here, and it's like looking in a mirror. Two completely mirrored compositions. Unusual for Ladon. I think they're just trying to still figure out what works and run this comp in. Worked for one team, let's see if it works for Ladon. ATK worked for them, why don't fix what ain't broke. So
Exactly, yeah.
let's see if Ladon can make it happen as well as they did.
Agreed.
Ooh, Toonkus backing off here a little bit, needs to be careful. There's Babs on Doomfist, there's ATK. The trip around the world here. I don't think there's any heroes sitting in spawn on Widowmaker or anything like that, so seeing anything too fancy, but yeah, they drop down now. Move forward here. Dizzy gonna build up a little bit of charge with 20. Finds a first kill, Babs. A little bit out of position there, and now Ladon are fighting a man down. This is really bad. If you're a Ladon esports fan, oh, 20 finds it through the gap there. He gets the kill, finds another headshot in the backline onto Donnie May, and another one onto Zarya. It's not looking good here for Ladon Esports. You look away from 20 and it's Sponge in your backline, cleaning up on the Doomfist. There's nowhere to hide, nowhere to run. Ladon Esports sent back to spawn the easy way, and so far not able to do anything here. There are respawns coming in, but it's not going to be enough here as they make quick work of them. ATK does on the first map.
Yeah, I think a shame. As much as I think Ladon can put up a decent fight, I think ATK are just, you know, they're feeling the confidence right now. They've got things working for them. Squishy getting player of the game here, which, you know, supports don't usually get. It just shows you how, you know, all these players are working at like a super high efficiency. Everyone's doing their job. And I think, yeah, just it shows how individually skilled everyone on this team is, I guess.
Oh man, okay. There's the anti-nade. We didn't see it on stream, but we saw the play of the game there. So yeah, I agree with you completely. ATK looking very comfortable and dominant here in our first map. We might be seeing a sub here from Ladon, as one of their players has. Darkstar looks like it's dropped out, so I wonder if we'll see him switched out for another player. Yeah, Supernova coming back in here. So interesting compositional switch here. We have seen Supernova playing that main tank, so I wonder if we might see Seraphim or the roles in general move around. But no need for ATK to switch anything up here. Yeah,
so exactly what you said. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think they'll stick with whatever's working for them. Might differ every now and then according to the map, but I think they're just going to keep going with what's working for them. I mean, you know, if they don't need to fix it, why should they? Should just keep it going.
You're a sub for them, eh?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're here, it's very unlikely they're going to be running any subs in the game.
No. Well, I mean, like, I think to the point where they don't really, you know, I'm less of a sub than I'd say other people. I'm not going to mention names in case people haven't been mentioned, but, you know, they have I don't think, unless, you know, something like load shedding or whatever, they would really need a lot of people. I think they have at least incorporated the subs that play a lot with them, you know, to be sort of conditioned to what they need from them. It's not like they're a sub, but they're not really included. So the people who are, once again, I'm not going to say names, but they are sort of aware and extremely active with their subs, which I think some teams lack in some regards, where the, you know, sub is usually just someone they bring in when they really don't have another option.
Emergency
so
solution.
So ATK, you know, they keep their, everyone's sort of a tight-knit family. They keep everyone, you know, up to date with everything that's going on, and especially if they had to bring in a sub, I think they would play just as well.
Yes. So we see the opposite from Ladon Esports, where they've got 20 subs and no idea who they're running. Well, we don't have any idea who they're going to when they show up for a match. So seems, like I said before, like they want to work out exactly what the best composition is and keep a deep sub base for maximum flexibility.
Exactly, yeah. Now, well, I mean, like I said, if they can sort of play together, get the communication well, and then, you know, hold their discipline, like, do that and get the basics down, I think that'll, you know, that's at least a step forward towards pushing ATK a bit more.
Yes, so we see the May on this map, and we see now exactly why she's annoying to play against. This is Ladon's wall. Babs could have dropped that whenever he wanted to, but he decided not to. No May on the side. of ATK for now is damage down once again. They're not moving through here on Ladon. They don't have the immortality field anymore on the side of Ladon, but they get aggressive onto Bandit. They find their pick nice and early. I hear Rez going off. He's brought back to life immediately. How did they not punish that? Supernova now finding the kill on ThePeachZA, and maybe my faith or lack of faith was the misplaced here. Ladon finally getting some kills in, finally getting some progress, but as I say that, the DPS wake up here and they just stop putting in the damage. 20 finds 2, Rexu deciding, him and Spun, sorry, deciding they're gonna have a suicide pact there, and unfortunately Ladon, after a promising start, not able to push through.
Well, I put 200 chicken McNuggies on Bandit throwing, but it looks like Spun just throwing instead, so I'll have to change my bet next time. But yeah, that punishment on that Rez, that's a huge punish. That's almost that's a kill you've gotten down. You should get the next one for free on that Mercy.
Yeah.
So I think they definitely need to go for that.
Yeah, 100%. So we do see Bob here for 20. Didn't even need to use one in the lobby. Basically had it the whole time, didn't commit it ever. So let's see if Ladon gonna force it out of him here. He is, of course, getting the damage boost. Okay, here comes the Bob. He sees Darkstar coming in, decides he's not gonna take that risk. He actually pooped him back there. Really intelligent play from the hitscan player for ATK here as Bandit cleans up Supernova on the front line, and that's a punch. It's not Darkstar on the diva anymore, sorry, it is Seraphim this time. Oh no, this is happening.
Shame.
Oh no,
This is
Donnie,
bullying.
you poor girl. You poor girl. And Squishy decides he's gonna get the kill on that one.
Yeah, I still think they're split quite a bit, especially on their DPS side. If they focus on Ladon's side, if they focus their DPS just on a character, maybe like once again like they did in the first push, you know, get a pick off, see if they can get the Mercy, bait in the Mercy, and try to get a second pick of that. I could see that being quite useful, but I think that just requires a bit more coordination.
Yeah, it really does. I think Seraphim is identified. Oh, there we go. Sleep on the Bandit, but no, not able to take advantage just yet. Here comes the bomb in through Seraphim. There's a Shadow as well. Nice from the tanks here on Ladon Esports. Seraphim picking up 2. No tanks remaining unless there's a res that comes through from Lazarus. But Sponge finds Rexu in the background. No McCree in the mix for Ladon Esports anymore. As Babs dropping low inside this immortality field. There's a Nano Doompuss in your backline, boys. Be afraid. Be very afraid. Donnie Mae wasn't afraid enough, and she paid for it with her life. Seraphim finds a kill on Squishy though in the backline. He's doing a lot of work here on the Steve, and he's to be careful about to get teammates. Does happen here, and now ATK suddenly exploding in the kill feed. 20 with the Bob assistance gets a double kill on the tanks, and ATK bring that one back after an awful looking start.
Yeah, that definitely looked like it was going to the side of Ladon, especially from the super well placed bomb from Diva. Yeah, I think you just got to make sure 20 doesn't get value out of whatever positioning he's in, because give him the smallest amount of space and he'll take that fully and he'll just go with it.
It's so tough to kill him though. Babs committing the May ulti here. There's a 2 onto Bandit. He's just eating a whole lot of PP today. Is Bandit here? Seraphim decided he's gonna, if he kill the main tank, it should be fine. But I mean, every time Lazarus coming in with a resurrection, bringing them back up to a full fighting complement here. A Sponge on this Doomfist. He's been completely uncontested all game, as of most of the rest of ATK, and he's making a nuisance of himself. He prevents the charge from going through Bandit there. Supernova not able to make the connection, and it looks like ATK gonna hold them here, but Ladon this time did manage to get at least more than a tick. Still will have something to play for here on the defense.
You see, once again, they're using their discipline with those ultimates, I think, a bit better than they were last round, and it shows. They were making ATK sweat a little bit more than they were. You know, the one fight looked like it was going to go completely their way. And I think they just need to continue that sort of structure after that initial like engage. They need to just focus or be wherever they need to be position wise, and they need to focus wherever they need to focus, while they have a pick or two. They can sometimes, you have 1 or 2 picks, and sometimes you're like, all right, cool, I can play quite without sort of discipline. And I think that's maybe a little bit where they're lacking, but they have the potential to make ATK sweat, which is obviously not an easy thing to do, seeing as they're doing quite well, but it's still in them.
To be honest though, I feel like ATK could be playing in a furnace and they still wouldn't be sweating here. They looked in complete control of this match, like at every step. The thing I'm noticing though is that Ladon are struggling so much to do with the ATK DPS. They've killed the tanks multiple times and they just can't follow up with a clean teamfight take, and so much of it is due to 20, like you say, being uncontested on that high ground, or moving around wherever he wants to, and Spine is just completely manhandling the backline of Ladon. So how do you deal with the DPS of ATK?
I think that's difficult. I don't think I'd even be fully able to answer that. I think maybe pressuring, once you get the picks onto like those tanks, keeping that coordination and pushing onto, you know, keeping them off DPS of high ground or DPS of wherever they need to be. Just give them the pressure and play from there. You don't need to have a game plan immediately for whatever you're doing. Just have the coordination to start with.
Coordination, like we said, might be a difficult ask here for the Ladon Esports squad, given their roster. Not quite woes, but at least, I wouldn't even say instability. You know, this is planned chaos a little bit. So we do see them running the Bastion here, but like you say, 20 on the Metro. They're coming in, perfect counter. They don't know where there's Rex is panicking. Just get in the corner, please hide. Save the team. Looks like they've figured out now where they are using Overwatch's beautiful sound design. But Squishy, he's taking a completely different angle here. Maywall comes down, cuts off the team here. They're in the corner. You need to be so careful. The lamp did go down and was taken down very quickly. There's one now in the other direction, and it's kills. It's all blue in the kill feed, boys. We lost. ATK identifying exactly how to solve the problem that was Rexu's Bastion and executing perfectly as they take a quick and easy 3-0 victory here in the Raving Mad Gamers Summer League.
Yeah, I think, like I said earlier, you know, Squishy taking that off angle that I thought 20 and Squishy would both do, going a different angle, playing from the high ground, completely uncontested. He just has to pushly hold mouse 1. I think he can press E and that's it.
Yes.
And I think that is so hard to counter as a team, but you know, that was exceptional play by ATK and Squishy.
Yeah, I mean, what more can you even say about that? Just total domination from every player, but unfortunately, Miiiish, you have to pick a player of the game. Who do you think was the standout performer from this match this evening?
I'm gonna go with Sponge.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Sponge just because I think his sort of repetitive action on how he just got in and got out on Doomfist made himself a complete nuisance. Just didn't seem to be phased at all, and I think that shows to how comfortable he is. Especially with the team around him, just letting him play to the playstyle he's used to.
Okay, so Sponge on that Doomfist, they're edging it out. Why Sponge over Squishy, for example?
I think Squishy, regardless of his, like, you know, he made big plays for sure. I still think Sponge is the one that initiated pretty much most of the team fights and plays. Like or initiated the picks. You know, he would start off with getting a pick like on King's Row, pretty much every single push they did, getting a support out of the way, doing exactly what his job was required of him, and just doing it exceptionally cleanly, exceptionally well. And I think that is very, you know, that requires a lot of discipline, a lot of awareness as a player, and, you know, not taking anything away from Squishy. He played exceptionally well, and it was extremely close, but just, you know, I still think Sponge did an exceptional job.
Can't disagree with that. I think would also make a case for 20 on the Ashe. Very consistent play, and also completely uncontested. And if you thank 20, you've got to thank Lazarus, who stood behind him holding mouse 1 all day.
Exactly.
So you can't have one without the other, unfortunately. And we got a few highlights there from 20 just clicking heads, and he looked very impressive. But I agree with you. I think Sponge was good as anyone else for the player of the match. Like I said, hard to find a standout in this kind of a match, but
yeah.
We will try and get an interview with Sponge. I'll let you take the lead. What would you want to know from your former teammates?
I guess, you know, just besides, you know, clicking heads in local, you know, what are they looking to do otherwise? You know, how are they, you know, pushing sort of the boundaries of, you know, being the best in SA and going beyond that? You know, what are they doing differently? Obviously without giving too much away, but yeah, just sort of how he feels in the game, because I'm sure he feels extremely comfortable with the team that enables him, and, you know, how much that can sort of enable him to do his job with an extreme amount of ease. You know, if other teams figure out how to do that, then I'm sure that'll work for them too. So I would love to know that.
Awesome. So we'll head over to the interviews channel here, and you can ask him that question yourself, just to hear what his answer will be. So let's just jump over there quickly.
Where is that?
I found it.
You found it. It is a bit complicated on this server. I wish we knew somebody who could fix that, but unfortunately, none of us have that power. Don't look too deeply into that.
It's my small brain. Don't worry.
First off, Sponge, welcome. Congratulations there for a very dominating 3-0 victory.
Thank you very much.
So I'm joined here by somebody you should be very familiar with, right? Somebody you've shared so much blood, sweat, and tears with alongside Michael Lele.
ThePeachZA.
Yeah.
I know where you live, Sponge. Just remember that.
That's hard to forget.
So I'll ask you, I'll throw you a softball here. What's it like not playing with Michael Lele on your team? Because this is the first time in your quote-unquote career that you've not had him on your squad.
Not having Miiiish on the team, well, I mean, at first it was a bit interesting because obviously with new teammates you have to get used to everyone and you have to learn how to gel together.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the pre-built synergies that we had kind of with NID before we became what we are now as ATK, you know, we had pre-built synergies from back in CS and all of those other games we used to play together. And just with the new team, the only thing I can really say that's different, because honestly all my teammates are seriously like at the top of their game right now.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that was really missing at the beginning was the synergy, but otherwise, you know, no offense, Miiiish, but
That's cool.
the team's pretty strong.
So to summarize, Miiiish is bad, and it's nice playing with good players.
Pretty much, yeah. I'm washed up.
Yeah,
Sponge will be here
right.
soon. Don't worry. Give it a year. It's fine.
Well, I'm excited to hear Sponge's analysis. I think that'll be quite exciting
My
in the distant
analysis,
future. Don't worry about it. I think segueing on nicely from your talk about, you know, all your teammates being on the top of their game, I think Miiiish had quite a good question relating to that.
Yeah, like obviously, you know, like especially from how we used to play together, it's when you have a team that enables you to do your job like you were doing tonight. Like you were jumping in as Doomfist, cleaning up the supports and getting out, doing exactly what Doomfist does, and you do it exceptionally well. But
Thank you.
would you accredit that to, like, you know, is that because your team enables you, or is it just because you feel confident with being able to pull off those plays, or just, you know, what allows you to do that so well, essentially?
Okay, so I'll say three things. First one I'll start off with is I had 280 ping the whole game, which was great.
Didn't look like it, I'll be honest.
Thank you. The second thing is that, honestly, without Dizzy on the Zarya, 20 on the Ashe, Squishy on the Ana, I wouldn't have nades or diners or bubbles to help me when I engage. If I engage on my own as a Doomfist, and I get flashbanged or I get bashed, that's it for me. I'm dead. A Doomfist is a sitting duck if you get stunned.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, we cannot pull off that comp without working together.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very interesting. So, coming into this matchup against Ladon Esports, how were you guys feeling? Were you expecting this kind of domination, or expecting a bit more out of Ladon?
Well,
You can be honest. You can be as honest as you want to.
Honest as I want to. Look, honestly,
Or you can
we know
lie.
that, or I can lie. Ooh, tempting.
Be friendly.
Honestly, we know Ladon as a team. We know I think we know all of their players. Yeah, we've played against all of them before in previous, you know, VS gaming leagues and all of that. So we kind of know what to expect from all the players. So we approach every game we do the same way. We treat every team with the same respect, and we go, okay, we're going to give this our all. Whether it's a team of silvers or it's a team of 4.5k players, we treat them the same. So going into the game, we didn't necessarily focus on how good the enemy team was, but rather just that we were going to do our best no matter what.
Awesome. Anything else from your side, Miiiish?
No, I fully agree with that, and I think that stems from, like, long ago playing as NID. You doesn't matter what the team's SR is, you play to your standard of, you know, you pretty much play like you're playing against an Overwatch League team. And I think, yeah, that's a huge attest to ATK's discipline as a team, and, you know, how individually each player just does their job. And I think that's, you know, it's hard to come by, especially if, you know, teams are just new at the game, especially. Excuse me. But, you know, it just shows you put in the work and the dedication, and you'll get to a level like that. And yeah, pretty much it.
Awesome. So last question from my side then, Sponge. If you could give any advice based on what you saw today to Ladon Esports, what would it be?
I'd say any team.
Related, it could be
any team. It doesn't matter how good any individual player is mechanically. If you're a team that can't work together, you should probably aim to fix that first. So the most important thing, obviously, with Overwatch being a team game is synergy. Synergy has to be your top priority in terms of what you improve at. So whether it means you scrim every night like we do, or you go into ranked 6v1 whatever you end up getting in your ranked pool. You just need to honestly, for every team, work on synergy. I'd say that's honestly the most important, because then you can get you gain trust in your teammates, and you can pull off things that you wouldn't expect to pull off simply because you know how each other plays and what you can pull off together.
And that's not, like you say, directed specifically at Ladon Esports. That's for all teams out there watching and listening. Before we head out, you know the drill. Thanks so much for joining us, Squishy. Sponge, rather. I get so every time I get confused between those two.
I get used to it. I'm just going to start answering to Squishy sometimes.
I think you should. Please, I don't feel like learning multiple names.
I'll just change my name to Squishy, then it's fine, right?
Oh, God.
We can have 2 Squishies.
Could you imagine casting that? I'll actually just die. So, yeah, thanks so much for joining us. Congratulations again to our player of the match, Sponge. Where can we find you on the internet?
At SpongeOW on Twitter, and maybe one day if I get good internet, I'll consider streaming, which I'll provide through my Twitter.
Awesome. We wait excitedly for that day. ATK at ATK_arena as well on Twitter, I think, as well, and at ATK_Overwatch. So that's where you can head for all your ATK related needs. Obviously, you'll be hearing a lot more out of the ATK squad. And by squad, I mean the organization itself, for obvious reasons, and also the team. So excited to keep that relationship going with them. My co-cast today, for his first ever cast, I think you did quite well.
Oh, I appreciate it.
I think you did very well.
I'm going to go watch the VOD and find out.
I didn't trash talk you as much as I would have liked to, so that's disappointing. But
I was expecting more shade. Every time I cast Ladon, I throw so much shade.
I'll take notes. I'll do that more next time.
Yeah. And somebody has to throw shade at ATK until they lose, right?
Definitely.
No, don't do that. We are firm believers in the caster's curse. Don't do that to us. Please, no.
Well, the caster's curse is the opposite. So if we throw shade, you guys should play well.
Yeah. If we applaud you, you guys are going to do horribly. So we're just going to tell you, we're just going to throw shade, and then you'll be sorted.
Exactly.
So,
thanks so much for joining. Miiiish, where can we find you on the internet?
At pretty much Twitter. I do stream occasionally. When I do, it's probably for about 30 minutes, so you'll probably never catch it. But it's at Miiiiish_.
How many?
How many LEs?
There are 4 E's in that. 4 LEs. Okay,
4
I know this for a fact.
Hope you guys are taking notes.
And I sometimes tweet about Animal Crossing and other things. So yeah, definitely there.
Awesome. For all your Overwatch not related content, head over there. My name has been SunPheonyx. You know me quite well at this stage. SunPheonyx on Twitter, at that, and nowhere else. So if you want me talking about American politics and otherwise just moaning about garbage, then that's where you can find me. At ThePeachZA was the guy who created our beautiful overlays and our wonderful production today. No replays today, unfortunately, because he doesn't know what he's doing. He's bad at his job. But hopefully next time he'll have that up and running. And then, of course, at ZA Overwatch on Twitter for all your local Overwatch needs, all your Raving Mad Gamers Overwatch updates, all your ATK tournament updates, and head over to our Discord server as well. All those details will be in the chat as well, courtesy of at ThePeachZA. So thanks so much for watching, everybody. We love you. Goodbye. Oh wait, no, before goodbye, check out, there was another game that happened today, right? So go watch that. Phoenix and Terranor are doing their second ever cast, so go give them some love. That should be a much closer game than this was. Probably still a 3-0 to Red Squad Odyssey, if I had to guess. If it's still going on, awesome, go check it out. It honestly might be, even though we started 15 minutes later. But should be a fun match, check it out. Also, if you're in isolation, which all of us South Africans will be from Thursday, stay safe, entertain yourself, have a good time, better yourself, be productive. And overall, we love you. Goodbye.
Cheers.